What's up, everybody? Solo Ceesay, co-host of New Money with Spencer and Solo. We're here for our Q&A session with Matt James, our first guest on the show, season 1. Let's get this new money. What's good, Matt? How you living?
Bro, I can't complain. I'm freezing my butt off up here in New York, but life is good, man.
Man, I gotta say, man, it was one of the funnest episodes filming all season, bro. We just got in such a vibe. It was great. Everybody was feeling it. It was nice. So, like, for guys who don't know, Matt, obviously he stays in New York. It's funny. We had a ton of different mutual friends kind of growing up because we were both in that finance bubble. So it was always nice, having him come on the show, having the conversation, and spitting some facts on crypto, creator economy, and all that. And just want to remind the viewers, we are streaming this live. Feel free to text us at 712-NEW-MONEY-6, NEWMNY 6. We're going to talk about everything that you want to learn more about when it comes to crypto. Ask us questions on the show. Ask us, questions about the creator economy and everything. So, Matt, appreciate you for joining us again. And, let's get into it, man. So to start, I got a question. What have you been up to since you've been on TV, right? You were on The Bachelor. You can dance a little bit, guys. He was salsaing all over summer. Whatever you got, Matt, what you up to these days?
Oh, man, getting back to what you had initially said about when we shot that episode, it's crazy how it's aged. I shaved my beard. I've got a different appearance going on. But the things that we talked about from theorizing where we thought the space was going to go has actually been pretty incredible how accurate it's been, especially from the NFT space and what we're seeing now with Fortune 500 companies, music venues, artists, entrepreneurs, etc., finding different utilities for NFTs. But yeah, on the dancing front, that was really fun being out in California and doing something a little bit more lighthearted after such a very intense and drama-filled experience. It was fun to do that and experience the whole Dancing with the Stars experience, especially with Rachel living out there with me. You even pulled up on a show. Shout out to Solo for pulling up on the show.
I know, bro. It was cool. They had a little 2 seconds of fame. He said Matt's friends on the show, but Matt crushed it, guys. It was epic. But no, it was crazy. Watching and filming that and watching it again in real time. Like, I think Matt just humbly bragged that he was right about everything he ever said on the show. So again, tune in, be an avid viewer. But yeah, Matt, a lot of questions came in for you actually. And I guess, the most obvious question is now, right? We asked you where you thought the market was going. We saw where it went. Where do you think the market is going, as we head into 2022? What are you most excited about in the space?
So I pride myself in knowing what I don't know. And if I was able to time the market, then I wouldn't be here on this call with you. I'd be on my private island, hanging out with a bunch of people that were way cooler than both of us. But, since I can't time the market, what I do is I invest in people. And I find people who have strong convictions about what they believe and have proven track record and have done the research. And I follow those people and those trends. And I'm less interested in, where the market's going per se in terms of pricing out individual coins and altcoins and NFTs. And I'm more excited about where the market's going and where the industry's going in terms of onboarding individuals who have zero to none experience working in the creator economy, working in digital worlds, crypto spaces, so that, that onboarding of a new audience is what's going to drive the market. So what responsibility I take on as someone who's an advocate for the space is to try to put everything in terms so that people can understand it and it's not isolating and alienating. Explaining projects that I'm invested in is layman's terms as possible so that people understand and want to be doing the same things, and then shining light on people that are doing interesting projects so that it's a more holistic view of the space for people, and they're not just focused on what they're hearing on the news and what they've heard in the past about this dangerous internet money. We gotta denounce those misconceptions of the space, so that we're onboarding my mom, your aunt, your cousin, the bus driver, like the everyday person, and that's what's going to drive and move the space forward.
No, that definitely makes a lot of sense, and it resonates with us too, because obviously Spencer, it's a game day, shout out to Spence. But one thing that he always talked about a lot, and we talked a little bit on the show, is sticking your neck out and being an advocate. Like, I think that's the one thing I really admire about how Matt James moves, is that at the end of the day, you are a risk taker, but you also follow your own path, right? And we kind of talk about that on the show, and the responsibility that we all have really to educate, especially communities that don't necessarily have the resources to learn about that. So not to overplug it, but let's get new money. Follow us, watch our show. You'll get some tidbits on how to kind of proceed and learn a little bit more. But another question actually came in from the crowd from Dennis. He's talking about, hey, Matt, what's the likelihood that my 1-year-old surpasses my own understanding of crypto? And how do I explain that to them? What would you say your answer is there?
This is what I would say to Dennis. So, not to date myself, but like when I was in high school, if I wanted to get on the computer, I had to go to computer lab. When I was in middle school, if I wanted to call home, I had to go to the office and use the phone. I didn't have a cell phone. So access to different technology, different resources, information is gonna amplify and speed up the onboarding of the next generation, which is a good thing. We want that next generation to be making the world a better place and more efficient economy, and them having access to that internet resources and those means is going to do that. So it's actually crazy to think that I didn't have a laptop until I got to college, and now you see 5-year-olds flying on planes with iPads, and they're freaking creating their own they're literally in metaverses in Minecraft, like crafting their own castles and worlds. And so they're leaps and bounds ahead of where we are. And what we can do is continue to, the best thing we could do for them is to give them the resources to continue to create and be ingenuitive and trailblaze for, their kids. And that's how, we got to put forward.
No, that's great. You actually bring up a good point too, because I know that we have a couple questions on the metaverse, but on the metaverse, what does that mean to you, right? Because like when I think about it for myself, it was a weird concept at first, because it was kind of like, aren't we already living in the metaverse in a way? Like, haven't we already been moving towards a virtual world over the last couple decades, right? You think about, the rise of Halo and like Xbox Live, and then obviously Instagram presences and social presences now matter a lot more than they did, previously. The basis between the value we put on the digital and the physical world has compressed over the last couple decades. So like, I guess in your mind, like, when you see metaverse, when you're thinking, how do you think about it? And I guess the other part of that question too is, what would you say to people that have this sort of Black Mirror / afraid of that type of, moving too fast into that world? What would you say to those people?
All right, I'm going to tackle two of those questions separately. So the first one is my thoughts on the metaverse is it's not a new concept. If you're involved in gaming, or you have a son or daughter, or a young one who's been has any experience playing or interacting with video games. There was The Sims when I was younger. There was Roller Coaster Typhoon. There's all these virtual places where you can go and create and be whatever you want to be in that space. When I was in college, one of my communications professor was, she spent a majority of her time in Second Life, which is another virtual reality. So one of our assignments is we had to create avatars and hold class in Second Life in this virtual world. So when it snowed, we would meet for class in Second Life, and insert whatever example resonates with you, whether that's Call of Duty, Halo, Minecraft. Yeah. The biggest concert of all time was when Travis Scott went on to Fortnite and hosted a concert. That was a virtual concert. So like these aren't new concepts, just a matter of it being brought to the mainstream. And public adoption to new things is scary. Like people and intrinsically don't like change. Like it's scary. Most people, when they grow up, they live within like 5 square miles of their house. Like people don't like to do new things. So it takes longer for people to become comfortable with such a new concept, but in theory, it's really not that new. We've been doing it for such a long time. And I think that as you onboard more people and they start to see the utilities show up in their lives, that they're going to become more comfortable with it. And that's, your favorite singer or performer. If you're a big Justin Bieber fan, like he's probably going to drop an NFT that has utility that allows you to access his concerts sooner, allows you exclusive content with him and Haley. If you're a fan of LeBron, you'll have access to his, NFT or his metaverse where you can go and get exclusive one-on-one basketball skills training with like whoever's part of his camp. Like the opportunities are endless, and you just plug whatever fits into your interest group and wait for someone who is going to create in that space to, wait for someone that you're interested in to create in that space, and then you jump in. So from a metaverse standpoint, I'm very bullish on it. I think that we haven't even scratched the surface. It already is huge. It's only going to get bigger. And I'm not rushing into it because there's a million different platforms to get on. And I think that, as we figure it out as consumers, then the big dogs like the Amazons, the Facebooks, the Googles, who have billions of active users, are going to come up and gobble up all the space anyway. So it really doesn't matter where you start out. Just figure out a place to get in there and explore. And then from a Black Mirror standpoint of like, this tech is too much, like, I think that the most powerful projects right now are the ones that are providing real value add and utility, and people should want that. We look for things in life to invest in that make our lives easier, whether that's Apple Pay. You don't have to walk around with a wallet anymore. And that's scary at first to have your credit card information on a phone, but once you've realized it's secure, everyone's putting their phones up to everything. So I use that same analogy. Like once people find the utility for the metaverse, utility for NFT, utility for whatever crypto you want to use, then they're going to inherently become more comfortable talking about it, using it, and investing their money in it.
No, I mean, that's a great point too. And we actually even talk about it on the show, on the season. We talk about the idea that there actually was a world before Uber, right? Like there actually was a world where you used to wait on the corner of the street hoping a taxi drove by to take you where you wanted to go next. But somebody came up with the crazy idea to use your phone to call a stranger to pick you up and bring you to where you're going next, right? And now it's a easy and key convenience that we'd enjoy every single day, that we previously weren't. And so, like, to your point, I couldn't agree more. And I appreciate it. It looks like we're coming up on time, but I guess I have one more question. I guess in terms of your journey, right, Matt James, and like talking about the idea of getting new money. Kind of in your goals going forward, what do you see for yourself in 2022? What are you super excited about in terms of your personal finances and getting things and continuing to explore and become a more that Paul Tudor Jones you alluded to on the show?
My goal, honestly, Solo, is to bring everybody up with me. I feel very blessed to be in the position that I'm at. And I work with a lot of people in communities that are marginalized, and communities of color that don't have access to the information that we're spitballing, so freely on this new money platform. Like, I want to have these conversations in these neighborhoods that could benefit from it. They're the ones that need to hear this. They're the ones that need to start utilizing these platforms, programs, and educating themselves, because there's not institutional education that tells you about a digital wallet, about crypto, about what protocol is the most efficient to transfer money from. We're getting robbed when we're using Western Union to send money back home and out of the country to the people that we're trying to benefit being here, when in reality there's more efficient ways to do all these things that we're doing, but we've been exploited for years. We haven't been able to have access to traditional finance based on low credit scores, no credit history, XYZ. And the table has officially been laid out for us to have a digital renaissance in these marginalized communities. And if we're not leading those conversations, then who's going to do it? So I feel that responsibility. And as we continue to do that, it falls into all the other goals. That leads to more people being onboarded into the space, a wider adoption, an understanding of these buzzwords that are scaring people that, because they're watching too much of the news. But can you blame them? Like, the news is where people get most of their information. And if they're not going there to get the information, where are they going? Me and you. So we have to be very transparent and open with our information and sharing, so that we can empower these communities to make sound decisions, and they can start to generate wealth for their families and their family's family, because we're at the ground floor of something that, you know, was once in a generation.
No, absolutely. And I couldn't agree more. And Matt, honestly, we appreciate you coming on the show. And it's kind of a touchy-feely way to end. Appreciate you guys for joining. Matt, you're the man. Make sure you follow Matt on his social channels at MattJames919. He posts great content all the time. Follow us at Let's Get New Money on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. You can follow me at solo.ceesay on Instagram, at solo Ceesay, no dot on Twitter. We're here every Wednesday. Appreciate you guys for joining. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week. Appreciate you.